Dan, did I ever tell you that I have a friend?
Shocking. No, I did not know that.
Yeah, he's
Really?
not imaginary. He's a real friend. This friend of mine has a real interesting job.
Hmm.
His his job. He works for a company that they drive around all day and they fix fuel pumps at gas stations.
Wow, that sounds
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. I just always thought that each company fixes their own, but no, he is a company and they fix um, the fuel pumps. And I guess they do everything. And I mean everything from like the tanks in the ground to the pump itself to like the software inside of the station.
Oh,
And the reason I'm saying this, Dan, is he had told me, have you ever been to a fuel pump and it just goes so painfully slow when you're pumping gas?
not that I recall. No, I don't go to a fuel pump very often though, because
Well, let me ask you, does your wife pump the gas for you in your household? Is that what you're telling me?
yes,
Dan,
for her
you
car,
don't
yes, she
pump your own
does.
gas.
I guess I never really
You
paid
don't pump your own
attention
gas.
how long
Oh my
it takes.
gosh.
I just turn the nozzle on the high setting, flap that tab down, and let it run.
Yeah. Well, no. Okay. Maybe it's because I'm a firewood delivery service, so I'm at the fuel stations a lot. But there are some times you come up to a fuel station and the pump is just so slow. It's just painful to stand there and watch it just tick, tick, tick as it's filling up your fuel pump. Anyhow, my friend told me, he says, when you come upon a fuel station like that, that usually means that they are cutting corners because that is a filter inside of the pump. It's like a spin on filter, like an oil filter. He says it's probably like $20 to $50. It's $100 if you pay them to do it. And that just means that that gas station is not keeping up with its maintenance
Oh,
and making it a nice experience for their customers or cutting corners.
cutting corners. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the reason I say that, I was at a fuel pump today and it was so slow that by the time I got my truck filled up, I couldn't even remember what I was doing there in the first place.
So it took 2 minutes. That's
Oh
your
gosh,
attention
yeah.
span.
No, it was terrible. It was terrible. Anyhow, my friend told me, he goes, what he does, his practice is when he's at a station like that, he quits pumping and he leaves. He feels that you need to punish these fuel stations with
Oh,
losing a sale because of how slow the pump is. Because he says that's just part of the responsibilities of owning a gas station
yeah.
is staying on top of your equipment.
Keeping up with the
Yeah,
maintenance.
yeah.
Yep.
But yeah. So while I was standing there trying to keep my eyes open as I'm filling up my truck, I was zipping through some videos on YouTube, and I forwarded you the one.
Yes.
And I thought we could talk about this one today because this was really good, a real good video.
Yes. Very, very
Uh,
interesting.
it was. This was, and maybe Dan, we can put a link to this video in the podcast notes so that everyone listening can see this video that we're going to be talking about. We can do that, can't we?
Yep. We sure can.
Okay. So this is a 2-minute video. It was a news story, and the channel is KBZK out of Bozeman, Montana. Bozeman, Montana. And
Yep.
it was a news story, and this is pretty recent, within the last few weeks. It was a firewood company, and a big firewood company in an adjacent town, Manhattan, Montana. This was a fire that broke out, and it was S&D Firewood, Manhattan, Montana, and they're not just some little Mickey Mouse operation. They're pretty big. Do
Huge.
you recall? Yeah, what was they interviewed? So it's managed by a woman, and she, um, you you can like how like you can just tell if someone's like wrenching on a car, you can tell if they know what they're doing just by the way they're holding the wrench, or
Yep.
but
Yep.
when I saw her hop out of that skid steer, I just knew this lady knew her job and she
Yeah.
knew what she was doing.
She
This
meant
lady was,
business.
oh my gosh. Yeah. She was very professional. Anyhow, do you recall it was a big one though? Do you recall their numbers, like how many cords a year they sell and
Around
all?
4,000 cords a year.
Wow,
And
4,000 cords.
yeah, and somewhere around like over 200,000 bundles a year.
Bundles.
Yeah, that was their big thing is bundles for like the gas stations and camping and recreational burning.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they showed the news story. They had a big fire, and it wasn't, I guess, a lot of stuff caught on fire. So they had, their yard is massive. And it's kind of like, I don't know, they're in a big, I pulled it up on Google Earth. So they're out in the high country of Montana, um, and it's flat, but they're in a valley, and there's not a lot of trees around them. It was like agriculture. So just wide open fields with not a tree to be seen. But then they would have a mountain of logs that had been trucked in, thousands and thousands of
Yeah,
logs.
log piles everywhere and big ones, big log
Yeah,
piles.
big. Yeah. And so there was a lightning strike and high winds, and their logs caught on fire, and they lost almost everything. I think she said eventually they were able to save half of their inventory. But then, like the next day, the winds kicked up again, and it kicked up another ember, and it caught on fire again. It was a big deal, and I think she said they lost. It was $130,000 lost in inventory.
Yeah, it was big. It was a big loss.
Yeah, yeah, and so there's multiple fire departments came. She said community members came to help. But they were grateful that no one got hurt and they didn't lose any of their equipment. It was just wood products. And Dan, there was just mounds of charred logs.
Well, that's just it. Is that I mean, you can put out a fire on a pile of logs, but those logs are then trash. They're the
Yeah,
outside's just charred up, turned into basically charcoal, and so yeah, it's not like they contain the fire, but even after putting the fire out, all of those logs were just done. They're
they're
nothing.
ruined.
Yeah, they're ruined.
Yeah, and I think she had said that they are going to offer up to the locals. They can come in with their own saws and cut up the charred wood for free, just so that they can get rid of it.
Yeah, anything that could be salvaged, people could come in and work at and clean up, just to kind of help with that cleanup and just to get rid of that inventory that is now to them, worthless.
Yeah. And then did you see the one shot? They had a skid steer in there with a bucket, and they were just scooping up just gigantic bucket loads of just charcoal and ash from the fire.
Yeah, yeah. It
Wow.
looked like one big bonfire had finished up.
Yeah. So I want to put this video in the podcast notes. So people can see this. I also noticed though, during the video, I noticed that they had a multi-tech firewood processor. I saw that in the
Yes.
background. They had the
Yeah.
real big one that has that pincher on it, that moves the log through
Yep.
that circular blade. Yeah. Um, and they have a lot of equipment there, a lot of trucks and loaders and all. So it's a seriously big operation. I'm sure that well, 4,000 cords of firewood's not a Mickey Mouse operation, I would
No,
say.
they're going through a little bit of wood.
Yeah. But the lady that ran the place, very impressive. And, she was a very good interview for the news. And, she demonstrated grace and strength through this adversity. And I think overall it was a factual uh, news story, but it was also one of hope, that they were going to bounce back from this and they were going to continue to service their area. Do you
Yes.
think I summed that up accurate there?
Not to, put a play on words or a big pun on this, but they were going to rise from the ashes once
Yeah.
again to service the area with firewood and get back to business as usual as quick as they could.
Yeah. So I came away from the story, I sell firewood and, there's adversity out there and they certainly faced it. But it was ultimately about, you know, resiliency, the human spirit, overcoming obstacles and sticking to it. Like Bob Seger once said, like a rock.
Yes.
So I was, I don't know, motivated. I was feeling good about this whole story. And then I scrolled down just a little bit and started reading the comments. I started, I started reading the comments, Dan, and that's what you and me had both caught on to here, because some of these comments run the gamut of everything from, you got this girl, you can do
Yep.
this, all the way to, you're a fraud and you purposely torched your yard on for insurance money. That was in there too. But so Dan, so Dan and I wrote down our favorite comments, and we thought that we could read them off for this podcast because we have noticed some of these comments appearing in just typical firewood YouTube videos, with people that are either just doing this as a side hustle, or they may be a hobbyist, or they could be a professional wood yard. And we just thought we would read some of these off and talk about them and maybe get a chuckle out of some of them.
Yeah, there's like common themes that kind of are buckets. You can put, a comment in this bucket or that bucket, and it's just interesting to see where all of those kind of common themes come together. Like you said, there's comments about like hope and, providing a little motivation, support. There's people claiming fraud. There's people, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
it,
gosh.
it's crazy.
Yeah. So, Dan, why don't you get us started? Just read off your first comment that you found interesting.
Oh, well, the first one
And to all of our listeners, you can see these very comments yourself if you click
yes.
on the video. Okay.
So see what bucket this one fits into. This comment
Uh-huh.
reads, now 5 sticks of firewood will be $20.
God.
Or along those same themes, like, oh, that's what you get for ripping people off at the gas stations with your overpriced bundles.
Oh, jeez. I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's the other one. The same. It says serves them right. So this guy's glad they burnt down.
Yes.
They've been robbing John Q. Public for years with their criminally priced firewood. $7 to $10 for 5 pieces of garbage firewood that burns up in 10 minutes. What the heck? And then the other, nobody buys that ripoff S word. Get real, he says.
Yep. Or
Yeah.
I can't believe firewood would burn. or another theme here was like, where is it? Oh, it might be good to separate the piles of wood to prevent one fire from burning so much. And putting lightning rods next to or in the piles would prevent lightning strikes from hitting the wood. I don't know about that, but and what
let's
would be
talk about that one for a second.
What would be the
Dan,
amount of logs to put in a pile? Like what would be a
Yeah.
sufficient amount of logs?
Yeah, I don't know. It looked like they had multiple piles. Like there would be maybe like 5 or 6 semi truckload of logs in a pile. And then down the way, and this is a massive yard spread out. So it looks like something caught on fire and the wind and the embers caught the other
Yep.
stuff and the other stuff and the other stuff. I don't know. They have a lot of space, but how much space do you need? For keeping everything safe. It just doesn't seem um I don't know, practical. I worry about fire at my, I had a flood at my yard, but I mean the fire is what scares me the most. Because once
Yeah.
something starts going, it's just a chain reaction. You can't stop it.
Right. And especially in the conditions. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of a wildfire ever happening out west anywhere. It's pretty
I
common
guess it's possible.
for lightning to strike, and that small fire will turn into a large fire very quickly. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's it's pretty common.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if the logs that they had were those beetle kill pines, and they're kind of dry to begin with,
Yep.
because I got on the Google Earth and I didn't see any trees close to them. Like, it's all farmlands. There's hardly any trees out there at all, it seemed. It looked like it where you thought there were trees. If you zoomed in, it was like scrub brush instead. So I don't know where these trees come from, but it looked to be, they're all those pencil straight, smaller diameter poles, would you
Yep.
say?
The pine. Yeah. I don't know the
Yeah.
exact species of pine, but I do believe you're right where you could I think you're right in making the assumption that a lot of them were probably those beetle kill. They're probably pretty much almost dry to begin with. If not the bark, the outsides drying. Who knows how long those logs have been sitting there to also dry, and yeah, it a lightning strike and then burning embers and wind. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably impossible to avoid the pile
Yeah.
catching.
So Dan, there was a guy that commented. There's a few people that allege that there's no way that this was a lightning strike, that this is arson. And then the one guy said, made it sound like that he thought that the owners lit this firewood on fire themselves so that they could collect the insurance money. Oh,
Well, I
gosh.
mean, that's just like,
Come on.
again, the thought process of people. If you're running a firewood business with 4,000 cords a year going out the door, I think you're better off staying in business rather than collecting an insurance claim.
Yeah. I don't think you need to light your yard on fire. It
No.
sounds like you're doing pretty good. Good God.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was the guy, what did he say? That he alleged arson, that they were doing this for insurance fraud. And the other guy says, you can't insure firewood, or, a firewood company can't afford insurance, which I thought was another silly comment, because I would think this yard could. I bet you they make a lot of money there.
Yeah.
But, I had talked about too about, the challenges I had of insuring my own inventory.
Exactly.
Uh huh.
Here's another one. What a stupid business. Use trees for lumber, not burning.
Oh, gosh. There were a number of those kind of comments of the people that are like this one here. Wow, they destroy our woodlands and forests for profit. Sort of karma,
Yeah.
which is, yeah. And I thought there was one more. No, this one here is going to be from a different topic, but this, I it just seems to me, I'm sure there's some exceptions out there, but most trees don't get cut down simply for firewood. Maybe there's some out there, but the ones that get cut down are usually cut down for strategy as
Yes.
a cull tree, or they're a byproduct of the timbering process, where like these loggers go out and take the main trunks into the mills. And instead of just leaving a train wreck behind, they clean that up and they sell the tops or the skinny culls to the firewood market. So, firewood, the way I see firewood as an industry, we are a benefit to a healthy forest management system. We're not contributing to deforestation.
No, not at all. And that's a huge misconception a lot of people have is they think firewood, you're just cutting down trees just to cut them down to turn into firewood. But to your point, it's part of forest management. Like you're managing the forest, keeping it healthy by removing the old dead growth trees, making something useful out of them, like firewood, which people need. And overall, it's a benefit to the environment. It is not
Yes.
hurting the environment.
Well said. And then here's another one, same thing. The guy, there should not be firewood companies. It's like, what the heck? Well, there should not be stupid comments like this one. That's
Yeah.
what I should have said. Yeah.
Yep.
And
It's
then of course there were the socialist comments, Dan, like this
oh
one. Up here in Wisconsin, I'm joking. Up here in Wisconsin, they're charging crazy prices for a bundle of firewood at the gas stations. 7 pieces of wood for $9. I'm glad I got good connections on wood because these gas stations are ripping people off and are making a lot of money with these little bundles they wrap up. I tell you, what's going on up there in Wisconsin, Dan?
I don't know. It's crazy that people would want to make money.
Yeah,
Yeah. Crazy.
there were a lot of these comments about bundles. What is it with
Oh, I know.
what? It's just, where do we even begin? Evil, evil profit.
I got to find out where they're selling them for $9. I got to move my roadside stand up there. Jeez. Wonder where that is in Wisconsin here.
And there were some comments that I felt were kind of hurtful. The one, this person says, this level of tragedy is a result of greed. This can only happen in a scenario where resources are consolidated to this level. Imagine how many family-owned businesses that could be if this company was split up. Oh, the crazy overpriced firewood people. Where were the safety measures? Oh, that was left out because more money in the pockets. Put the whole community at risk. Of course, they'll come to help you anyways. So, like, I am not a professional psychologist, but I am an amateur psychologist. And moments like this, I think, are fodder for the emotionally abusive people that live amongst us. Because I remember when I had my flood, I got a number of emotionally abusive comments from my deal, where they were mocking me because of my trouble. They were denying my feelings of being overwhelmed and being down in the dumps over this emotional abuse.
Yep.
And that's what you see a lot of these, not a lot, but they're in there.
They're in there. Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, what I would, like if, I mean, if your neighbor's house burns down, you don't go over there and mock them, you know.
No, generally not.
But on the internet, we do. Yeah.
Well, that's just it. Is that
That was,
this lady, if she, she probably doesn't have a lot of, maybe she does, I don't know, social media experience, but she could be reading these comments and saying, you know what, man, I can't believe this is like the public opinion out there of our business. Maybe we should just
yeah,
quit and give it up. I mean, what are we
yeah.
doing this for? So that's the part that sucks.
Do you think if it was a different type of business that burnt down, that they would endure, comments that question their real existence? Like if it was a concrete company or a gas station or
Yeah.
a baker or a swimming pool installation company, or anything like that. Why is it that people pounce on firewood companies?
I don't know, but that is a good point. That's something to ponder, is what would have been the reaction and the response if this was just a different business.
Yeah, it seems like firewood gets it from both ends because it gets attacked for people that make money to begin with. And then you get attacked, because you're making too much money. It's just, some of
It's
this stuff, I don't know if we'll ever get this worked out of our system, but it is definitely out there. You know,
yep.
all of us that put content, firewood content on social media, has to endure this. And unfortunately, this lady here, I mean, they could have gotten a lot worse what she'd said, and they're still operating. But then for some people, that still isn't good enough. It's like they enjoy seeing someone suffer, which I think is weird.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
would like to interview this lady and ask her if she has any interest in starting a YouTube channel.
well,
Just
she
to
seems
see
like she's tough enough.
just to
Yeah.
see what her reaction would be. Oh, I bet yeah. No doubt about it. She
Yeah.
could do it, but it would just be interesting,
Uh huh.
out of this experience with social media, what her feelings and thoughts would be about it.
Yeah. But you know what, though, Dan? There were still some very positive comments, and I wrote some of these down too. Like the ones they were talking about when life deals you lemons, make lemonade. About you have a lot of charcoal around, and
Yep.
that's
Yep.
it's a product that people would buy. Um, the one person said that this is just devastating. At least everyone is safe, and I've noticed your positive attitude. That tells all. This place will survive and be up and running ASAP. There was a number of comments like that too.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, there is
Mm-hmm.
always people that are on the, I guess, the right side, giving support, feeling the pain of this person, what they've gone through, and so yeah, it was
Yeah,
good to see some of those.
yeah, yeah. It was, but that was okay. We commented on the positive stuff, but why is it that these negative people and these jerks are the ones that get our attention, and that we feel like
Yeah.
we need to call them out? Serious. I mean, what causes a person that when you see a person suffering, what motivates a person to kick them when they're down? I
It's
just
it's it's strange.
I'll never understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never understand it. Like the one guy had commented about, that it's their own fault because they kept all their stuff too close to each other, kept everything packed in. And then I think that was the same guy that alleged that they just did it for the insurance money. And come on.
Yeah.
It just, it's like when there is a tragedy, it seems like people understand it in a way that is important to them. And some of the people that make these comments, I think, spend too much time watching cable news because they just have this bitter
Oh,
this
very
bitter
bitter.
constitution, and it just has to come out.
If this would have been a video and a story about just the firewood operation in general, and they would have showed little log piles scattered all over the place, that guy would have been saying, "You need to put all your logs together in one pile to be more
Yeah.
efficient. You're not efficient
Yeah, you're
enough.
inefficient.
You're wasting fuel driving around to all those piles." So it's always
Oh,
what's
and you got to
wrong is
touch
what
it too
people.
many times.
Yeah, there you go. They'll always find something.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think of all of the comments, though, those are the ones that bother me, are the ones that you can get the sense that someone's excited to see this happen. That just,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
somebody is taking
unfortunate.
pleasure in other people's
Yeah.
down pain, their pain, pleasure in their pain.
Yeah. I remember mom always said that there are three types of people. She said that, she'd talk about this little old lady who was crossing the street in a busy downtown intersection. She said the person one will stop and help and put their own selves at risk to help this person across the street. The second kind of person would just walk on by and ignore them, and the third person would push them down and take their purse. And I think that's what you see here with some of these comments. You got
Yep.
all three types of people.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Everything is represented.
Yeah. Well, so I wonder if we would be able. I just get the sense that this lady's probably she doesn't have any time to talk on a podcast. That'd be interesting though to see if we can get her to appear.
Well,
Let me
perhaps
task
we
let me
could.
task you with that, Dan. It's
Okay.
your job to do this, not mine.
Well,
Yeah.
we could perhaps see if she might be interested in reliving
Yeah.
this and talking
Oh
about it.
gosh. Yeah. All right. Well, Dan, we had said this earlier, but we're going to put a link in the podcast notes, or I would imagine that you could just type into the search bar of YouTube or Google.
Yep. Manhattan
Um,
Firewood Company, and that'll get you
well,
there.
yeah, Manhattan, Montana, which I understand is just a little bit smaller than Manhattan, New York. Just a little bit.
Slightly smaller.
Slightly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's S&D Firewood from Manhattan, Montana.
Yeah.
And they had a fire about 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
All
You'd be able
right.
to find it. Like I said, just if you any of those keywords, but we'll be able to throw a link in the description as well.
Okay. All right. Real good. All right, Dan. Well, I thought that this was a fun discussion and it helps us better understand the industry and what else is going on in the world.
Yeah, just something happening out there in the world with firewood, and hey, it's an interesting little topic when you dig down under the layers and start reading these comments and and seeing the sentiment of people out there.
Yeah. Well, my biggest takeaway is that you must be a millionaire up there in Wisconsin selling bundles for $9 each. Gee
Yeah,
whiz.
I know. Jeepers.
All right. You rip off. Gosh.
All right, we better
All right,
strike up the
Dan.
band.
Yeah, let's strike up the band.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in once again to the Wood Hounds, the #1 firewood podcast in the world.
Yeah. And please, regardless of the streaming service that you are using, you could reach over there and click the 5-star review. We would greatly appreciate it, wouldn't we, Dan?
Yes, we would.
Okay. So, Dan, let's tell everyone out there to be
Positive. Nice.
okay, I guess, and stay
Positive and nice.
okay. And while you're being positive and nice, have
A great day.